one of the great appeals to the story was this journey. They started out with these kind of rave parties of dancing for days and days at end, and vocalizing and dancing and improvising. And then, over a long period of time, it became more and more organized and choreographed and precise, just like the furniture, just like the things they created. It's just like this finding of form. And that was really exciting.
Hello, and welcome back to The Director's Cut, brought to you by the Directors Guild of America. In this episode, a woman becomes the founding leader of the Shakers religious sect in director Mona Fastvold's historical drama, The Testament of Anne Lee. Based on real events, the film follows Anne Lee, who hopes to create a utopian society in the 18th century. Proclaimed as the female Christ by her followers, Lee suffers persecution as she forges the radical religious movement that would go on to become the Shakers. In addition to The Testament of Anne Lee, Fastvold's other directorial credits include the feature films The Sleepwalker and The World to Come, and episodes of the miniseries The Crowded Room and Long Bright River. Following a screening of the film at the DGA Theater in New York, Fastvold spoke with director Darius Marder about filming The Testament of Anne Lee. Listen on for their spoiler-filled conversation.
Well, thanks everyone. Hi, Mona. We're just meeting each other.
Hello. Thanks for being here, everybody. Sorry it was cold.
Well, I just want to start. There's so much to talk about with this film, and it's such a triumph, Mona. I mean, it's extraordinary. I know that financiers were lining up to make a musical about the Shakers. But putting aside the obvious slam dunk of it, it's extraordinary. I mean, the level of detail, reverence, truth, 35 millimeter film, it goes on and on. Watching it for the second time now, it's really overwhelmingly incredible that you made this film. And there's so many places to go. I think being here in the DGA Theater is wonderful because we can really talk about directing, and there's so much to talk about there. Why don't we start with the journey for you a little bit without getting too lost in it? How on earth you made this? This is a very hard film to make.
It was very, very difficult. Yes, as you said, it's of course trying to pitch this story was impossible. I started out. I discovered the story, and I felt just that I had to make it. I had to tell this story. I thought it was so incredible. And when I first discovered it, I thought I have to make it quickly before someone else does. And then,
isn't that funny? Like how that feels.
That feeling where you're just like, oh, I need this is like it's mine, and I need to do it immediately. And then I started working with Brady Corbet, my partner, and Andrew Morrison, our producing partner, on trying to put it together. And I think we met with every single company, person, financier. I mean, it's just so many people, and everyone was like, well, sounds interesting. Like, let us know when you make it. Then luckily we had some of our trusted partners who came in with a little bit, but there's so many collaborators on this one. Well, you've seen the credits, it's a lot of smaller checks, and
it's a huge movie,
piece by piece by piece to get the financing together. And then we just took the number that we got and then decided to somehow make it for that without changing the script or at all. Like this, because I wanted it to be epic. I wanted it to span her entire life. I wanted it to cross oceans. And So, you know, we did.
Well, you did it.
Yes.
You did it somehow. I mean, it's really,
Yes.
it's really stunning. I mean, I'm sure everybody in this room is very sensitive to what it would take to make this film. I mean, I am really overwhelmed with what you accomplished. It has this kind of Caravaggio quality to it. You have like this intensely like overwhelming period in the beginning with the architecture and how closed in it feels and the way it opens up in the movie. And I especially I'm really struck with the way you took time with the script and the pacing for things like the births of the children, which is such an engine, emotional engine in the story, and the way you took time on the boat. Like within the span of an epic, these are really interesting choices because, you know, that could feel like a blink if you're not careful. And yet it was such an important part of the journey, both the birth and the boat, you know, are just two little sections amongst many.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I think, so the birth, that whole sequence we shot for 4 days, and my entire schedule is 34 days. So it's a big chunk of my movie that's
Wow.
very short part of the, like in time, short part, with so many, but it was so important to do it, right? It was important for me to do, to create all the prosthetics, to really see, you know, everything from the breast milk to the blood to the real babies, to go on that journey. The only way that I could fully understand her journey to celibacy, or at least sort of get on board with it, was by truly going on that journey with her. So it had to be done in such a detailed and real way. And also it's just something I'm passionate about as a filmmaker, is to show those parts of womanhood in a really genuine way. And it was important to Amanda as well. So
but it's throughout the film. I mean,
it's throughout,
it's not unique to that section. You're being true in every frame of this film, while even kind of surpassing the time period itself with the music and kind of transcending time, not just with the music, but with the narration. Because the narration is bringing us into a framework of a kind of relative view of this and reminding us this may or may not have happened, which is really a fascinating choice on a writing level. And once again, there's just so much to talk about. I think that one of the things I was really interested to talk to you about, because this is such a director's movie. I mean, it's really directed, and that is not always true. This is a movie that's not trying to be another movie. It's utterly brave in its concept, but impossible to pull off. And when I think about impossible to pull off, I think about the dance and the music and the sincerity and truth of the shaking and the movement itself, which I'm reminded watching this twice of just how much we really all need that, and how most people don't shake enough. And I you know, it's a funny thing to say, but I actually really believe it. I think I understand the power of this movement watching it. I wanted to ask you, in this process of finding that movement and bringing that to your actors, did you find that you were all aided and helped by the movement itself?
Definitely. I mean, my background is in movement and dance. So for me, one of the great appeals to the story and my interest also in the shaker movement was this journey, this journey from, you know, they started out with these kind of rave parties of dancing for days and days at end, and vocalizing and dancing and improvising, and then you know, over, you know, a long period of time, it became more and more organized and choreographed and precise, just like the furniture, just like the things they created. It's just like this finding of form throughout a period, and that was really exciting for me to that journey from like this wild improvised piece and then into this like super precise and symmetry of it all. So that was just exciting. And then I think, you know, animals, when they've been attacked, and afterwards they are still, and then they shake. Like that's like the natural response, right? That's what we do. We literally will shake
it off.
Shake it off. Yes, like Taylor Swift would say. We do that. We do this. We do it when we have a bad thought. We do like it is this sort of.
Or we should do it.
Or we should do it. Yes, it would be helpful to do it. And I thought, there's something to that. And I can understand the appeal, as you said, and the intoxication and how seductive this movement could be. I could see that in my mind. It was hard to read it on paper from, the research that I did. But I could definitely, but I thought if I could I could imagine it. And if I could try and create a choreography between just, the choreography that Celia Rosenhall, our choreographer, created, but also the choreography of the camera that was seductive enough and pulled you into it enough, and then create a sound mix and a score that did the same thing, that just would envelop you, then perhaps we would be able to understand this really strange, interesting, radical movement.
Right, and you clearly transmitted that to the actors, because certainly, especially Amanda, the performances are so imbued with belief in the same way, and you're able as an audience to believe with them because of that. There's no irony, of course, in it, but there's an utter heart involvement, and she leads the way in the way that's just extraordinary. But it must have been exhausting to shoot those sequences.
Yes. I mean, the whole movie was exhausting to shoot. Really exhilarating and wonderful, because I got to make it. It's a lot of that where you're just like, how the heck did I get to make this? How did we actually pull this together? So there's always moments of that. Almost every day on this film, I thought, wow, like I'm actually getting to make this movie.
Yeah, and you're on a boat, and you're on a ship.
Yeah.
And you're in water, and you're getting wet, and then you're in seasons, and you're in snow. I mean, it's really extraordinarily.
It was hard. The
scope is crazy. It's amazing to see the Hancock Village.
Yeah. So what I did. How we made this movie was that. So the very first thing I did was I shot a little bit as a workshop with just some dancers but in beautiful costumes and on 35 and up at the Hancock Shaker Village.
Wow, you shot on 35 as a test?
I did, because
that's awesome.
Part of me was just I just kind of have to start exploring, but I don't want to throw it out. So I want to have it, and I had to share some of the music and the movement with potential investors, because you can't read it. It's too hard to read it. So that's the first thing I did. And then. So
wait, how much did you shoot at that point, and what year was that?
That was in the winter, in January, before we were shooting.
Is that where you got your winter shots?
No, I came back
just to make it a little harder.
So officially,
yeah, I get it.
I would go up and just shoot a little bit now and then at the village, just some buildings and things. But I also the main shoot was in Hungary and then section in Sweden, where we built everything and we built our Shaker Village, and then we went back in the fall. And shot for 4 days in the.
Was that to burn the barn, or was that in Sweden?
No, the barn actually I burnt. We built that and we burnt it down,
like you do,
in the end of the summer in Hungary in a marble quarry.
Oh, really?
There was a quarry that we had scouted for the Brutalist, but we didn't want to use it because it was red marble and just looked completely wrong. But then one of my producers, Maddie Browning, she was like, "Oh, it actually kind of looks like just mountain, or like it feels there's something about it. Doesn't really look like a quarry even." So we went and we saw it again, and it was the only place where we could build and safely burn because it was so dry.
Oh,
because it
yeah,
was enclosed.
That's right. I saw that stone,
and it was the only place I could dress for winter in summer as well. And then luckily. It was raining and we were kind of high up in the mountains, and it became incredibly cold. So all the breaths and everything, all of a sudden, we were in winter. But it was very hard. We had to shoot everything there one day, and then into the night we were burning and shooting that whole scene in front of the barn burning. So I just had 4 cameras going because I really was scared that it was going to be just collapse and be over very quickly, because that's happened to me before.
Yeah, you don't really know how fire will work.
Yeah, you never know. Like, even if it's really well done, it just...
kind of like actors.
Yeah, it's very true.
It's a living thing.
So I just kept I started the cameras at different times and then kept reloading while one would run out. But I hadn't told my actors for some reason that I was going to do that.
That you were going to do what?
That I was not going to cut.
It's hard to tell fire to cut.
Yeah, so and I also just thought I was going to have much less time. So I just kept shooting and shooting and shooting, and it just didn't collapse. I actually had time to really shoot the scene. But at some point, Amanda was just like, why the aren't we rolling out? Like, what's happening? Like, what are these magical film cameras that just never roll out? And I was like, oh, honey, I'm just reloading when one rolled out. Like, we're just going to keep on going.
It's so powerful. Yeah. I mean, that the fire is so powerful. Mm-hmm. There's something about the pacing of the elements throughout the movie that's really impacting. And it was really incredible to see it in this theater. It's like, you know, everything is done. You know, there's this painterly quality in the beginning, which I really love, and then the nature of the elements is so interesting, and the way that the pacing is with the water, and then nature, and then the fire, and then the presence of the architecture. And full disclosure, I've spent years building shaker furniture. I'm totally obsessed.
Have you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm terrible at it, but I've done it, and I'm obsessed with shaker architecture. And it's amazing the way that the architecture presents itself. It makes me so emotional, really, because it's to see it in this context for you. Can you actually, I've just had this thought just now. You realize, like, she was doing that. This woman was bringing this to America and going through this whole crazy thing. And at some point you were going to make this movie. And you're now part of that. Like, you just brought this to people for the first time. Nobody knows this story, you know, and you brought this real architecture in those real rooms. Like, they're incredible rooms.
So beautiful. So we were lucky enough to get to use all of these original blueprints for the furniture, for the architecture, so that we could, and Sam Bader, our production designer, is as obsessive when it comes to this as me. So we really just ended up doing everything.
You feel
for
it.
real.
Oh, it's incredible.
It's really exciting. And then we had the real, we had people from the Hancock Shaker Village who taught our actors, and who are also there in the film as well, teaching us how to build everything and how to make everything. So, like, you know, the basket weaver and the box makers and all of those details are just, they're all real and perfect how they're supposed to be, because it's just, you know, it's such an exciting part of.
Must have felt amazing to be dancing in that room, to be shaking in that room, you know, with that tree on the wall.
Well, that room we built.
Oh, that room you built. So
that one we built.
Well, you did
Hungary.
That beautifully. It's gorgeous.
Mm-hmm. So that tree is a spirit drawing that I just always loved.
It's
so
beautiful.
Much.
It's so beautiful.
So it's like a drawing that was received by an artist from God, and then they painted that. Just much like the songs, they're all, you know, a lot of them are gift songs, so they're just received and then passed on.
That's incredible. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the part of the process I was really interested in, is how you kind of channeled. I mean, I know that you come from a secular background and that you're not a shaker, and there's only, 2 in the world now?
Now there's 3.
Oh, there's one more?
A third joined, not after seeing the movie, but after, right after, 2 weeks after I'd finished the film, all of a sudden there was an article that a third shaker joined the community. So,
it's,
you know, and that's the first time that's happened, I think, since the late 70s. So,
well, it's 25% larger now, which is a big deal.
It is.
Or maybe, I don't know if I did my math right.
I didn't speak to them because it felt more respectful not to, because we, you know, it's a living religion for them, and I'm telling a story. But I hope they're all right with it.
Well, I also love that you just brought up this idea, like you built that room and the tree and the way you brought the music in, and you took liberties. You let things come through you into this world, which is really interesting. It must be kind of awe-inspiring in a way to allow that, isn't it?
Well, I mean, you know this, so obviously some of the design and the furniture are later than the film, but I wanted to bring in so we cheated with that a little bit as well, because I just wanted to bring in all of the quintessential Shaker aesthetic into the film as well, because I wanted to draw a line from the very beginning to that end sort of result, and that's something we are familiar with.
I'm so glad you did, because it would be strange to see this and not understand that legacy. And that without, I mean, I think I was, there was this, that everyone saw that huge round barn from inside, which is a barn I drive out of my way to go visit beautiful. Frequently. It's so incredible. And
how it's constructed too. It's so brilliant. It's like how they come in with the carts and then they dump the hay, and then the cows were in the middle eating out of that hay, and that's how they could be milked. And it's just so smart. It's all just this like circle of life, like a really beautiful constructed thing.
Yeah, it's one of the most glorious things you can ever see. And I love that you shot in there. And I was just thinking to myself how funny it would be if they were able to build that in a couple of years. But it must have taken them God knows how long to build that thing.
They built it several times because it burned down as well. So it was reconstructed. But they would do that. They would build something. They would be like, well, I think we can do better. Shall we start over again? And then they would. And that's a little bit like us, right?
Yeah.
You shoot for an entire day, something really difficult. And then, you know what? No, I think we're going to do it again, or we're going to do it differently. It's just this like obsessive kind of.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Artistic drive. That I identify with.
No, that's exactly right. I mean, there is a parallel here with this odyssey that you've gone on to make this film and what she did in that sense. I mean, it's born of such faith. There's no way you can get on this journey and without that kind of faith, because it's impossible. I mean, it's a really, really hard film to make, and to stay true to all these elements that we're talking about. Talk on a thematic level and a writing level, this idea, I mean, the most extraordinary thing with, I think, her vision, her mission, of course, is this lack of fornication and this, and even this kind of separateness and togetherness of the males and females, but the very specific qualities of that, which some say is why it died, to the extent that it has. But you make a choice in the movie to speak to some of her sexual trauma, both in childhood and with the loss of her children. That's a really interesting choice, right? Do you feel, after you've kind of entered into the sphere of her world and her life, that was the forming thing that kind of signaled to her that she wanted to shut this down for this community? What do you feel?
Well, obviously, the celibacy aspect of it is really complicated, and imposing that on others is not, ideal. But I think that there's notes in their testament, in their text, about her relationship, like her of being upset by her parents' sex life as a child, and always sort of having a problem, like taking issue with this. So there's some, and we know she had 4 children. We know they all died. So those are the things that are known. I thought that it was more interesting to draw a complex portrait of her, where she has some sort of curiosity about sexuality, and that there, instead of her just being a victim of her times and this relationship, I wanted there to be duality there. And I thought that was more exciting and interesting to me as a woman as well. In order to go on that journey with her, I wanted to, because we don't know. So I thought that, to me, that rang true. That I could have probably, because I could have painted her as like, oh, she's asexual from the beginning, but she had 4 children and she did marry this man. So I thought, well, it doesn't feel right to me, because she was so strong and so powerful that somehow victimizing her in the beginning felt incorrect with where she ended up to me. It felt more right to say, you know what, it just wasn't right. The way into her, the sexuality of it all was just it's not quite right, and something is wrong and off with it, but it's not an abusive relationship necessarily. It's just not quite right. And then this immense trauma that she experiences is what her only sort of survival mechanism out of that is to say, I can't mother my children, so I'm going to mother the entire world.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I'm going to lead. I can mother everyone. Mm. And I thought that's interesting. That's an interesting concept. What is mothering as a leader? Like, what does that really mean? And how can you do that? That's something that's interesting to lift up and look at right now.
Yeah, and the idea of responding from trauma, people respond, especially the loss of a child or 4 children, is either to wither and die or to try to give and give and give. And that's obviously what she did. But I think that choice you made is so strong in saying that she is a sexual being, because had you not, it's a much easier choice for her to make, to kind of place it upon others. But, she says to her husband, I want to please you, but I can't. And I think that's such a strong choice narratively to make. It really gives her credit and credibility in saying, I'm doing this with you. And even the way you shot it, it's very sensual. The way she's pulling up her it's from his POV in that moment, her husband's POV, played by Chris Abbott. He's great. And but it's still reminding us that there's a sexuality here that's at play. We are just making a choice within that context. I think that's really strong.
Thank you. I also wanted the movement sequences and all of that. I wanted there to be a lot of tenderness between the characters. So even though they stop being sexual, they're still tactile, and there's still like a tenderness and a lot of love between them. And then I also wanted the movement pieces to just be quite sensual, and like there has to be a place where they would get all that out, So
that's
try
true.
And let them be really. And they were always people were always accusing them of oh no, these are orgies, or they're out there dancing without their clothes off. So I think it sounds like they were really free and wonderful, even though they were completely celibate, but they were just dancing. And they were so joyful and excited about it. People just were so terrified and so upset by that.
And probably jealous also.
Yeah, probably.
Probably like, why can't we do this?
Yeah.
We want to shake too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, who doesn't want to shake? No, I think on so many levels, you really lived in the details in this movie, and the accents, which must have been very difficult for actors to acquire. I mean, it's not an easy accent.
It's a hard accent. It is really hard. It's and we worked with great dialect coach and designer Tanara Marshall, who is she did so much research. Just went into old texts, and then we ended up finding the oldest possible recordings of oldest possible cotton workers, women. And listen to them quite a bit as well, because we had to create a new. No one knew what they spoke, how they sounded like, and they also had to be working class, and most things written down are by upper class. So you needed to sort of really find something that felt true and was as accurate as possible. But we had to create it, and then everyone had to learn that.
I mean, it's so much to bring to this film before you start shooting,
Yeah, we started a year in advance, unofficially, just on evenings and weekends. And I had our cinematographer and our production designer and Amanda and choreographer, composer, some of our trusted dancers that we would do workshops with. And we just started working, while we were doing other jobs, and just took whatever time we had to prep, because we knew that it was just going to be impossible otherwise. So when we were in
Yeah,
active
it
prep,
would have
we
been
could
impossible.
almost, we could just really just.
You can't wait to get paid to do all that. You gotta just do it.
No, I know.
No, it's such a labor of love. But again, it really came together in such a magnificent way, and the sound and the music. I mean, it's just such a triumph of a film, and I congratulate you and thank you so much for sharing this story with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to another DGA Q&A. The Director's Cut is available wherever you listen to podcasts. And please share, subscribe, rate, and review. We'd love to hear your feedback, and you can help fellow film buffs find the show. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time. This podcast is produced by the Directors Guild of America.